Hi, welcome to the podcast Ease into Clarity. I'm Dr. Divi, family doctor turned intuitive coach, and I'm here to help you. In this podcast, we will learn mental techniques, emotional techniques, and spiritual techniques to change daily problems. So maybe it's your husband, your boss, your coworker, your kids, they're driving you crazy. You can email me any of your questions and I will use all the techniques I've learned over the years and help you. Grab your hot chocolate and make sure to subscribe. We'll see you soon. Ciao. Hello, and welcome back to the podcast, Ease into Clarity. I'm your host, Dr. Divi, and thank you for being here. We're in the middle of a series about spiritual work, healing, and thoughts. And last week, we talked about our resistance to love. If you didn't have a chance to listen to that, go back and listen to it, because this part and the next few parts are only going to make sense if you've practiced this concept of unconditional love. So today, we're going to talk a bit about our thoughts. Now, we've all heard this concept. We have 40 to 60,000 thoughts a day. Man, that's a lot of thoughts. And they're on repeat all the time. Conscious and subconscious thoughts just run our show. You know, you're not good enough, you're not pretty enough, whatever. Comparing and judging and so on. We also have all these positive thoughts. We just don't put enough fuel in there. We have positive thoughts like, I am a child of the divine. I am supported by the universe. The universe has my back. I am a child of God. Divine I am is me. And we can keep going and going and going. But we don't put a lot of juice into these loving thoughts. We put tons of gas and fuel into the not so loving thoughts. And it's just a habit. And what a lot of spiritual people do have been in this work for a while. We're like, okay, just ignore that thought. Just ignore that thought. We'll scroll social media and we're like, whoa. And we don't look at the thought and we don't heal it. And then 10 minutes later, we're wondering why our business isn't working. Or an hour later, we're wondering why our relationship isn't working. Those little thoughts are super important because those little thoughts show you what the ego does. As you may know, the ego is the part of us that is not love. It's really that simple. There's only love, which we talked about last week, which is the divine, the universal essence, non-physical energy, unconditional love, what humans call God. That's your truth. And there's the ego, which is the separated self, which is the fear-based self. It's really simple. And the ego has tons of thought. It's been running the show like a drum in the background for a long time. So what we want to do is we want to get clear of what those thoughts are that the ego is giving us that we just ignore. Or we hit cancel, clear, delete. It was a technique I learned a long time ago. I was like, hit alt, cancel, clear, delete. Let that thought go. But it actually doesn't work because the nervous system is still triggered. So unless you look at the source of that thought and investigate a little bit, like, what is that all about? And then heal it, it'll just keep happening. Got it? So let's use a practical example just for our brains. We want to get practical as to what we do all day, every day. Maybe when you walk down the street, you find yourself judging all day. It's a very normal thing the ego loves to do. I think it's one of the ego's favorite things. Why does the ego judge? Because the ego's biggest thing is guilt that it's got back here and it's unconscious. We have guilt back here and unconscious. And again, if you study A Course in Miracles, it says because the perception from the ego is that you're separate from the divine, you're separate from God, you're separate from the universe. So you must have killed that energy. And all these people are out there, you're guilty, you're bad. So what the ego does is it doesn't like the feeling of guilt, so it projects it onto everybody. You're not pretty, you don't like that outfit, you're not doing that right. That's what it does all day, every day. But the problem with projection is it actually increases it. So that which I put out, I get back. That what I put out, I get back. So if I want more love, put out more love. If I want more icky stuff, put out more icky. But what a lot of spiritual people do is they know these concepts. Like, okay, don't think that thought. Don't think that thought, Divi. Don't think that thought. But you're thinking that thought. So what do? You analyze it. You go, why am I thinking that? What's that all about? Why do I think that person's better than me? Why do I think I'm less than? Really get to the bottom. So let's use the classic example. That person looks way too good in that bathing suit, or shouldn't be wearing that bathing suit. I'm saying this because we're coming up to the summer. So that's a guilt projection. It's either because you don't think yourself look good in a bathing suit, you have body images yourself, you are maybe have anorexia, maybe you don't like yourself, something there. And that's what you're putting out there. So what do you do now? Now that you figured that out, you have to investigate. Why don't I like myself? Why am I hooked on the ego? Why do I think I'm the body? And just investigate that. That's the next key. So the first week was resistance to love. This week is looking at all those microscopic thoughts we have that are judgmental and investigate, why do we do that? And once we identify why we do that, then I can move into next week. The reason I'm breaking this up, because if it to all in one week, you'll ignore it. You won't actually do it. So again, the homework this week is to continue from last week, see if you can hold more peace, more love, and pay attention to all those little thoughts that come up and go, wow, why do I do that? And just ask yourself that and reflect and journal a bit maybe, and kind of ask yourself, what is this? What do I think about me? Why am I doing that? I must think I'm less than. I must think there's something wrong with me. And then next week, we'll talk about how to forgive it. So it's a 3-4-part series, probably 3-part. But so again, first part was unconditional love. Second part is looking at our judgments. And next week, we're going to talk about how to heal it. Okay? Lots of love. Thank you so much for joining me in this podcast, Ease into Clarity. It is such a joy, pleasure, and honor to be in your living room. What I would love is if you follow me on Instagram, drdivi, or go to my website, drdivi.com, or write a review. That would be even more amazing. Thank you. If you really enjoyed this podcast, feel free to share it with friends, family, tell them to follow me, because I think the more of us that listen to the fact that each of us can start to shift, each of us can shift mental things, emotional things, spiritual shift, to shift our daily reality. When more and more of us do it, we get a better planet. We get more love. We get more happiness. We get more joy. So I'd love it if you followed. I'd love it if you shared this, because it would be such a joy and an honor. And again, if you have a question, guess what? I'm here for you. So send me an email, easeintoclarity@gmail.com. And as they come in, I will answer them in podcasts that are subsequent, whether it be your boss, your relationship, your husband, whatever. That's what I'm here for. Because the more of us that learn really simple mental techniques, really simple spiritual techniques, we change the physical reality we live in. Pretty soon we have more peace, more ease, more joy trickling across the whole world. Remember, there's a spiritual solution for every problem. Thank you for joining me. Namaste.